A high-profile trial is unfolding, shaking the music world to its core. What secrets are spilling in the courtroom about one of hip-hop's biggest names? Let's dive deep into the most intense day yet of Sean Diddy Combs' court drama. Sean Diddy Combs faces a series of serious federal allegations. Prosecutors accuse him of orchestrating a criminal enterprise involving exploitation and abuse over more than a decade. The charges include sex trafficking, racketeering, obstruction, and drug distribution. The prosecution paints a picture of a man who used fame and power to control and mistreat women, with rules and enforcers to maintain silence and obedience. Diddy's legal team pushes back, describing the accusations as exaggerated and driven by financial motives. They argue the women's testimonies are fueled by the spotlight of the #MeToo movement, claiming Diddy is innocent and targeted due to his celebrity status. The defense emphasizes the case relies on false memories and lies. The courtroom drama escalates with key witnesses sharing explosive details. Israel Flores, a security officer, revealed a violent incident caught on surveillance footage, though his story faced harsh cross-examination for inconsistencies. Phillip, a dancer, testified about his involvement, describing disturbing scenes witnessed that paint a disturbing image of the alleged events. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, is central to the case. Pregnant and composed, she recounts years of abuse, manipulation, and control. From allegations of violence, psychological torment, to coerced participation in so-called freakoff sessions involving drugs and escorts, her testimony unveils a harrowing experience behind the fame. These sessions, described in chilling detail, involved orchestrated encounters with escorts under the influence of drugs like ecstasy and Molly. Security and assistants arranged supplies and kept strict control. Ventura describes being objectified and watched, sometimes via FaceTime, with little regard for her consent or well-being. Ventura's testimony highlights frequent violence, including being dragged, stomped on, and verbally abused. She describes the fear of saying no to Diddy during the sessions, compelled by threats and blackmail. The layers of control extended to confiscating her belongings and constant surveillance by staff. Complications arise over the presentation of key evidence, particularly explicit videos and surveillance footage. Defense counsel fiercely fights to exclude or limit these materials, citing privacy and content concerns. Meanwhile, the judge navigates pressure from media and public interest demanding transparency as the trial unfolds. The courtroom tension remains high as Diddy's defense aggressively challenges testimony, leading to heated objections and sidebars. With testimony from crucial witnesses like Cassie still ongoing, the trial promises to reveal more unsettling revelations. This legal saga is far from over, and every day brings new twists that could change everything. The gravity of the charges. Sean Diddy Combs, a towering figure in the music industry, now stands at the center of a legal storm, facing an array of serious federal allegations. Prosecutors have laid out charges that carry enormous weight: sex trafficking, racketeering, obstruction, and drug distribution, among others. According to the prosecution, Diddy allegedly led a criminal enterprise that operated in the shadows for over a decade, exploiting and abusing women under the guise of fame and fortune. The accusations describe a meticulously organized operation, complete with strict rules and enforcers tasked with keeping victims quiet. Women were reportedly subjected to drugging, filming, and trafficking, sometimes even physical violence, all to maintain the control of the enterprise. This is not just a case about one man's alleged behavior. Prosecutors argue it's about dismantling a decades-long empire of exploitation and power abuse. What makes this case even more striking is the contrast between Diddy's public image and the dark allegations brought against him. Known worldwide as a successful entrepreneur, artist, and cultural icon, these charges, if proven true, could forever alter the perception of his legacy. As the trial moves forward, the weight of these allegations sets a heavy tone, underscoring the potential gravity of what's at stake in this courtroom battle. The defense's counter. Diddy's legal team pushes back hard, describing the accusations as exaggerated and driven by financial motives, and insisting that the women's testimonies are fueled by the spotlight of the #MeToo movement. They argue that some memories have been distorted or even fabricated, suggesting the case is built on lies and falsehoods. According to the defense, Diddy is innocent and being unfairly targeted because of his celebrity status, caught in a firestorm of public opinion that has clouded the truth. They assert that this is a case of fame making a convenient scapegoat, rather than a clear account of wrongdoing. The defense challenges the credibility of the accusers, claiming monetary gain and media attention as their true motivation, not justice. This has led to fierce courtroom battles, with Diddy's lawyers rigorously cross-examining witnesses, picking apart timelines, and exposing inconsistencies. They emphasize that evidence is missing or mishandled, and many accusations rely heavily on hearsay. Moreover, the defense highlights Diddy's cooperation with law enforcement when allegations first surfaced, contrasting it with what they say is a recent surge in claims that conveniently appeared years later. They describe the case as a circus, where speculation and gossip have overtaken hard facts. Still, the prosecution remains steadfast, pressing forward with witness accounts and physical evidence. But for now, the defense's strategy is clear: discredit the narrative, question the motives, and paint Diddy as a victim of fame's darker side. This relentless pushback has kept the trial tense and unpredictable, with many wondering how this battle of words will ultimately sway the jury. Key witnesses take the stand. The courtroom drama escalated, as key witnesses took to the stand, sharing explosive details that could make or break the case against Sean "Diddy" Combs. Israel Flores, a security officer at the California hotel, testified about a violent incident captured on surveillance footage that resurfaced last year on CNN, revealing new insights not included in his original incident report from nearly a decade ago. However, his testimony was sharply challenged by Diddy's attorney Brian Steele, who questioned why these details were only coming out now, suggesting potential motivations behind the delay. Following Flores, Phillip, a dancer who had been paid to be present during intimate encounters involving Cassie Ventura, gave shocking testimony about the environment around Combs. Phillip described witnessing instances where Combs threw a bottle at Ventura and dragged her by her hair, displays of violence that frightened even him and prompted him to question why Cassie would stay involved with the accused. He explained how he was paid to participate in these sessions, sometimes without even needing the payment, simply thrilled by being close to high-profile celebrities like Diddy and Cassie. The intensity of Phillip's testimony set the tone for the ongoing trial, exposing alleged layers of control and manipulation. Yet, Diddy's defense team didn't hold back, aggressively cross-examining witnesses, pushing inconsistencies to the forefront, and emphasizing alternative narratives. These testimonies deepened the complexity of the trial, revealing a web of troubling events behind the scenes. The stand of these witnesses signaled a turning point, shifting the focus firmly to the personal testimonies that could sway the jury, making every moment in the courtroom critical to the unfolding drama. Cassie Ventura's testimony. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, took the stand looking visibly pregnant, sharing detailed and shocking accounts of her years with Sean Combs. She described a relationship filled with control, violence, and psychological abuse. Cassie revealed how arguments often ended with physical violence, including being dragged and stomped on, leaving her with black eyes and bruises. She recalled freakoff sessions, orchestrated events involving escorts, drugs, and coercion that felt like obligations rather than choices. Cassie admitted to taking drugs like ecstasy, Molly, and cocaine during these sessions, often to dissociate and escape the emotional toll. These freakoffs, lasting from 36 hours to several days, involved security and assistants managing every detail, including supplying baby oil, lubricants, and even guiding who to contact when supplies ran low. Cassie shared the fear that came with refusal, explaining she couldn't say no without risking violent consequences. She described instances where she was objectified, watched by Sean either in the room or over FaceTime during these encounters. Blackmail material was allegedly used to keep her compliant, including laptops and videos, many of which she said she deleted or tried to destroy. The testimonies also touched on Cassie's music career, impacted by Sean's controlling influence and decisions. Despite a 10-album deal, most of her work remained unreleased, forcing her to make money by hosting approved parties. She revealed how Sean criticized her appearance, from her hair to her nails, and how her self-confidence was systematically taken away by Sean and his staff. Cassie recounted the constant surveillance she was under, with security following her movements and confiscating her belongings as punishment. Her testimony also included details about freakoff locations spanning multiple cities, highlighting a pattern of abuse and manipulation that extended beyond a single place. Throughout her testimony, Cassie showed moments of vulnerability, breaking down while recounting her experiences, making it clear this was not just a legal battle but a deeply personal trauma. Her testimony adds a critical, human voice to the case, revealing the dark realities hidden behind a glamorous public image. The freakoff sessions. These sessions, described in chilling detail, involved orchestrated encounters with escorts under the influence of drugs like ecstasy and Molly. Security and assistants arranged supplies and kept strict control. Ventura describes being objectified and watched, sometimes via FaceTime, with little regard for her consent or well-being. The sessions required preparation, including the use of astrolide, baby oil, and condoms, all provided by Sean Combs' staff. She explains the importance of being glistening, a specific instruction from Sean, and recounts moments when they ran out of baby oil, which caused delays as they had to request more from the staff. During these freakoffs, Cassie was often expected to perform while under the influence of multiple substances like ecstasy, Molly, Special K, GHB, mushrooms, and cocaine. She describes this as a form of dissociation, a way to emotionally survive the traumatic experiences. What makes these sessions particularly disturbing is the degree of control and surveillance. Sean was typically present during the encounters, sometimes watching by FaceTime if he was not in the room. The freakoffs could last anywhere from 36 hours to several days, with Cassie rarely sleeping, consumed instead by a relentless cycle of drinking, drugs, and coerced sex. She describes these events as a job, obligation she could not refuse without fearing violent consequences. In addition to the physical and emotional abuse, Cassie reveals that the sessions involved humiliating acts, including being urinated on by escorts, directed explicitly by Sean. She recounts how these acts were performed without her consent, emphasizing the absence of any conversation about her preferences or boundaries. The hotel rooms where these sessions took place were often left in disarray, covered in baby oil and sometimes blood or urine, leading to costly redecorations. This vivid testimony paints a dark picture of a controlled and brutal environment masked by glamour and celebrity. Emotional and physical abuse. Ventura's testimony highlights frequent violence, including being dragged, stomped on, and verbally abused. She describes the fear of saying no to Diddy during the sessions, compelled by threats and blackmail. The layers of control extended to confiscating her belongings and constant surveillance by staff. She recalls times when arguments resulted in violence, dragging, and being stomped in the head if she was down. She shared that the violence was too frequent, leading to black eyes and bruises. The psychological abuse was just as intense, with Diddy telling her to watch her mouth and reacting harshly if she made a wrong face. She explained how missing his calls would lead to incessant calling or even being tracked down by his security or assistants. Ventura revealed that her relationship was never exclusive, and she saw other men while Diddy also was involved with other women. The control went beyond physical abuse. Diddy's staff would confiscate her phone and laptop as punishment, sometimes for extended periods. Cassie described the emotional toll, feeling objectified, controlled, and frequently afraid of the consequences of resistance. She explained that the abuse happened in many locations, including multiple homes and hotels, where she was expected to comply with the demanding and degrading freakoff sessions. Despite these challenges, she tried to keep the peace, often texting gently to avoid triggering his anger. Her testimony paints a vivid picture of how power and control were exerted systematically, blending the physical, emotional, and psychological abuse in a relentless cycle. The legal battles over evidence. Complications arise over the presentation of key evidence, particularly explicit videos and surveillance footage. Defense counsel fiercely fights to exclude or limit these materials, citing privacy and content concerns. The judge is caught between protecting courtroom protocol and managing the high public interest in the case. Media outlets are pushing hard for access, arguing that the allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution are of significant public concern, especially given Sean Diddy Combs's fame and influence. They are not asking for copies of the videos or audio files but want to see and report on the evidence being shown to the jury. In contrast, the defense describes this evidence as adult content and insists on strict limits, citing the sensitivity of the material. Tensions intensify as the judge weighs the balance between transparency and protecting the integrity of the trial. Sidebars and objections become frequent during discussions about what evidence should be admitted, with the defense arguing some should be excluded due to hearsay or irrelevance. The prosecution, meanwhile, tries to prove that the evidence is relevant, especially where it concerns key incidents involving Cassie Ventura and others. One notable moment comes when a surveillance video showing a violent incident in a hotel lobby is played in court, despite attempts by the defense to keep it out. The court decides to slow down the footage for careful examination, signaling its significance. This legal tug-of-war over evidence highlights the complexity and sensitivity of the case. With so much of the trial hinging on video and audio proof, what the jury sees and hears could tip the scales dramatically. As the trial progresses, the fight over evidence access reflects broader debates about privacy, celebrity, and the public's right to know. What's next in the trial? The courtroom tension remains high as Diddy's defense aggressively challenges testimony, leading to heated objections and sidebars, but what comes next could change the course of this intense legal battle. With key witnesses like Cassie Ventura still on the stand, expect more explosive revelations about the alleged activities that rocked the hip-hop world. The prosecution is poised to continue laying out their case with detailed accounts and evidence that may further expose patterns of control and abuse. Meanwhile, the defense is not backing down. Prepared to dissect the testimonies and question the credibility of witnesses with precision, media attention is skyrocketing, putting added Pressure on the court to handle sensitive evidence carefully. Remember, battles over what videos and audio get introduced are ongoing, as both sides jockey to control the narrative presented to the jury. The judge plays a crucial role, balancing legal rules with public interest to ensure a fair trial while managing the courtroom's high stakes. As the trial progresses, every word from the witnesses and every piece of evidence could tip the scales. For viewers and followers, this means staying tuned for daily updates that dive deeper into the untold stories and dramatic moments unfolding right now. The unfolding drama promises twists, surprises, and moments that will redefine how we see power and accountability in the music industry. So, what will the next days bring? The anticipation builds with every session. Stay locked in, because this trial is far from over, and what happens next might just shock everyone involved. The trial reveals a complex and painful story behind the glitz and glamour, raising questions about power, control, and justice in the entertainment industry. As the courtroom battles rage on, one thing is clear: these revelations will resonate far beyond the trial itself. The testimony of Cassie Ventura opened a window into a world few could imagine, exposing the darker side of fame and the extent of manipulation and abuse alleged. Despite the defense's efforts to undermine these accounts, the detailed and emotional testimony has left a strong impression. The legal fight over evidence, from explicit videos to sensitive communications, highlights the struggle between transparency and privacy in high-profile cases. This case serves as a stark reminder that power often comes with hidden costs, and the truth can surface in the most dramatic ways. As more witnesses prepare to testify, the courtroom drama promises to unveil further shocking revelations, challenging our perceptions and calling for accountability. For many, the trial is not just about one man, but about the systemic issues woven into an industry that has long been criticized for protecting the powerful. Whether justice will be served remains to be seen, but the impact of these proceedings is undeniable. What do you think about the unfolding trial? Share your thoughts and stay tuned, because this story is far from over.